The Plotcast Podcast with the Potty Plotters.
Hello and welcome to... Now I've written down here, because I have to write notes, you see, and I've written season 2, but I'm reliably informed. Is it season 2 or series 2?
No, it's season.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right, I keep writing series, but you've
And I
obviously
keep deleting
deleted
it and changing it to season. Have you not noticed?
No. Anyway, there you go. So it's episode 5 already and we're still arguing.
Yeah.
But I am still Elaine.
And I'm still Julia. And I think you're trying to make Gareth as mad as us, aren't you? Honestly, I was quite sane until I met you.
Yeah, it just happens. It's contagious. There you go. Anyway, most people will know this by now. The question is, Julia, do you?
Okay, if you want to get in contact with us, you can contact us via Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, now X, at Potty Plotters, TikTok at The Potty Plotters, email us naughtycorner at pottyplotters.uk, or check out the website pottyplotters.uk.
Only a little stumble. Besides that, Julia, you did extremely well.
Thank you.
Well done.
What do I get for it?
Absolutely nothing. No. Right then, Gareth. Now then, put you on the spot. I'd like a little reminder, please, about this Kofi explanation thing.
Kofi, not coffee.
No.
Yeah,
Okay.
whatever it is.
So-
Yes. Now tell us all about it again.
Again.
Yes.
So, if you like what you're listening to and you'd like to support us to keep carrying on making this nonsense, then you can tip us by going to kofi.com/thepottyplotters, and that's ko-fi.com/thepottyplotters. Leave us a tip, and as people leave us tips, leave your name, we'll give you a shout out on future episodes. So I believe I have to give a shout out to, it's probably not you, you've done it on behalf of Bill, haven't you? So Bill has tipped us a cup of coffee because quite obviously I need to keep my energy levels up by working with you.
Yes, it is true. I was testing it, and then I told Bill what he was doing. That's my husband, by the way.
Has Bill bought us all a cup of coffee?
And not all, Julia.
No,
Let's
no.
keep this down
Well,
to a minimum.
He may have done, but it'll be a very, very small. It might be a swig of coffee.
Yeah.
Tell Bill that
Yeah.
we need coffee and a cake as well, please.
Okay, and we'll not broadcast what it is that his reply will be. But yes, I'll pass that message on. I mean, if he ever listened to this, he could work it out for himself, but actually doesn't use computers. All right then, I'll do that.
The Plotcast Podcast with the Potty Plotters.
Right, shall we do a shout out then for people who have been in touch? Because it has been quite a week. I know that we're back onto the new series, season, whatever it might be, but it has made me laugh, the amount of people that have been in touch. So, Julia, over to you.
Yes, so Rob and Sarah, do you remember we had that whole little heated debate about whether it was their community plot or whether it was their plot, and whether they wanted us to name their Facebook group or their plot? Do you remember that?
Sort of, yeah.
Yes, well, I was right. Thank you, Rob
Oh, you
and
see,
Sarah.
I took it that I was right.
there you
Anyway,
go.
read it out.
Anyway, so we listened to your first episode in season 2. You've got me saying it now, Gareth. It's her fault. Thank you for asking for suggested names for our plot. We look forward to hearing them. Just to clarify, as we didn't want to cause a domestic, it is our own plot, not a community one. There are over 100 council-owned plots on a patch of land by the railway line. Aren't they all? We love it when we go on the train, don't we? Because we always point out the allotments and go, oh, we should go and visit that one anyway. We get here by bus, and last week I got on the bus and a nice man gave up his seat for me. Long story short, that's how the bus driver lost his job.
Yeah. It's a joke, though, Julia.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, you've
Well, I
not
was a bit
said it
worried
like
then. I
yeah,
thought-
you were just reading it.
Oh,
It is a joke.
Okay.
Yeah, do you get it?
Lost
The bus driver gave up his seat.
Penny has dropped.
Now, all I'm going to
yes,
say is interjecting is Rob and Sarah, you can see the problems I have.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Anyway, yeah. So, Rob and Sarah, I've been thinking and I've got a suggestion. What have you got a suggestion, Elaine?
I haven't. Actually, my husband came up with one and he called it blind end.
Blind end?
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay. Well, I was working on another theme, so I was instead of looking at sight, I was looking at the other senses. So I was thinking you could call it Touch My Plums. Or you could call it Taste My Melons or something like that, you see. With focusing on the other senses.
Right, okay.
Straight my cucumber.
Well, there's just some suggestions from us. I'm sure you'll reject all of them, but that was...
Oh, so we'll keep those suggestions coming in if anybody's got any ideas.
At least I put the effort in, Elaine. Come on now.
Okay, must try harder. Story of my life. Okay. Right. Moving on then, we've had another one from Jackie in Staffordshire. I have a suitably large container to grow potatoes in this year. Do I need to put holes in the bottom, and when do I sow them?
Well, every hole needs a bottom, doesn't it?
No, every bottom needs a hole.
Oh, yes. It's all going wrong, you see.
It's a good job I'm here sometimes. Only rarely, but there. Yes, anyway.
Yeah, so yes, you do need holes in the bottom. And you should be chitting your potatoes now, but we're not planting them yet, are we, Elaine?
No, we're not. And the main thing is just get the potatoes, put them into an egg carton. That's what we do, isn't it?
Yeah.
And stand them up just like eggs and leave them in a cool, light area towards the light rather than in direct sunlight. Keep them out the sunlight altogether. And so if, like us, you've not got the heating on, most of the windowsills are fine at the moment to do that. And watch what happens. And they start to send out little shoots, and that's called chitting. Leave the shoots until they're about 1/2 an inch, 3/4 of an inch, and that's when it is that we'll start to tell you when the soil warms up when to plant. So besides that, just keep them on the windowsill.
Yeah, even in a container, unless you're going to put them inside your greenhouse or polytunnel, then I would suggest that we wait until we plant into the ground before planting them. So if you were planting them in the polytunnel or in the greenhouse, you could be looking at planting them towards the middle of March. I would say that would be fine, as long as you keep an eye out for frosts.
Yeah, and the other thing is they'll only take 10 to 12 weeks, so growing them in the warmth of the weather when we get any, if we get any. So that's my advice and Julia's advice.
Okay.
And moving on, Amy in Stourbridge. Now, I was surprised at this. Yeah, I did send it through to Gareth. I didn't send it through to you.
No, that's not very nice.
No, I know, but I thought it'd come as a nice surprise. I'm full of surprises today. Mark my words. Right then, just been on the hunt for another allotment podcast to listen to in between your episodes, and no one has anywhere near the level of personality that you two, brackets 3, have. I think I'm just going to start yours from the beginning all over again instead. Now, you see, I was a bit perturbed at this, Julia, because I thought it was my and your podcast, but you have noticed that Gareth has wheedled his way in now.
Got a third person.
He's got a speaking part.
Yeah. But that's all right.
Okay.
If people like him.
Yeah?
We like him.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you? Right, okay.
Rude.
Anyway, that's really flattering.
Yeah, it is.
I'm sure there must be others out there who, they've got some kind of personality. I'm sure they have.
Yeah, I don't really listen to many. I haven't got time.
No.
But maybe that's what we should do and start to review theirs, looking over immediately at Gareth, always shrugging his shoulders like I don't mind. All right then.
If you'd like to support the podcast, you can leave us a tip at kofi.com/thepottyplotters. That's ko-fi.com/thepottyplotters. And we'll love you forever.
Well, let's see what else we're going to do this week.
Okay, we've been recycling, haven't we, Elaine?
Have we?
Have we? We're always recycling. So you've put hint and tips. Get your tights out and recycle your plastic.
Right. What I mean is that we do always have our tights, don't we?
Yes.
And we do use tights all the time. I was going to say, Gareth, have you got any? I mean, has Alison, your wife, has she actually got any that we could use?
I don't know. Why don't you ask her?
She's over the other side of the room, isn't she? Alison,
Yeah.
have you got any spare tights?
I might have some spare tights.
Thank you. Don't ever throw them away. You have to talk like that, you see. Right. What we do with ours, Julia, are, well, I store onions later in the season in them, so all they're to do is a dried onion, then tie a knot, put a peg, something similar to keep it from the next onion and so on. But you have come up with a genius idea and you've been doing it for some time now.
Yes,
why not tell everybody?
I store my plant pots in leek tights, and it's a really good way of keeping them neat and tidy.
But most importantly, my other sister would be really pleased about this bit.
Keeps the spiders out. So when you're cleaning your plant pots, once they're clean, just pop them into the legs of the tights, stack them up, and then when you're ready to start planting, just snip the toe off and dispense them like the cups along the side of the water dispenser.
Which is brilliant.
Thank you.
Yesterday, Julia, when we went out and about, we went out for the day actually, Gareth.
Yeah.
You're allowed out?
Yeah,
we're
truthfully.
spending money
you
as well.
escaped?
Behind the lock gate was another thing, but we scooted out, and so linking this to tights, Julia got overexcited at one stage.
I did, yes, because on the shelves in the kind of ties section where you've got things to tie your tomatoes.
Yeah, there was string and
all that
nylon
kind of thing.
stuff.
There was actually a little packet, and it just looked like it had got shredded tights in it. And that's something you've been doing for a while, isn't it, Elaine?
Yeah, because all that you do is snip across the toe of your tights and then just keep on taking little slithers. And then what you do is you tie your tomatoes up with them. And they were actually selling this as a little packet of them, weren't they?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
she was like something possessed.
Well,
It's
all
quite
I can say
ridiculous.
to Alison is you could be legless soon.
So don't throw your tights away. What about everything else, your plastics and stuff?
Oh, well, it's that time, isn't it? We're starting to collect and collect and collect, because not only have we got things for ourselves, we're out there doing community projects, and so we want everything to recycle and plant in. So we want anything that's maybe contained fruit in, the plastic trays that fruits come in. We're collecting our milk bottle cartons. What else have we been collecting?
Egg boxes,
Ooh, yeah.
those anything to do with paper, gift bags, if you've got birthdays or old Christmas ones, anything like that, just start and collect them. If you're having tangerines, lemons, limes, and you've got nets, keep those. They come in handy. What do you use those for, Julia?
Well, I use them to support my melons. What do you use them for, Elaine?
I collect my hair in, I know, but I do collect my hair, and what I do is when I have my hair cut, which is due next week, let me just say, is that I then keep the hair, put it into the net, and then I put the net into the hedges, and when you do that, the birds then will come and collect the hair, and that's about feathering your own nest. That's what they do. I know, both of you look very surprised, but it's true.
Hints and tips for shortcuts to success. The Potty Plotters Plotcast.
So we've come out again today, Elaine.
Been allowed out.
Been allowed out, yeah. Well, broken our way out.
Yeah,
and,
we tried to break in, but he wouldn't let us.
Yeah, allegedly we were invited. I don't know, but anyway, we're here at producer Gareth's house to have a catch up on what he did last year.
Yeah,
and also have a look at things in the garden this year. So.
Yes, and what he wants us to do.
Yeah.
I've got a feeling it's going to involve a lot of work for us.
It won't. I mean, let's be honest. This is the first time you've come since the harvest season last year, when you had to peg back the tomatoes. It was a little bit of a jungle in there. But we've tried some things. We've had, what's the word? Experiments.
Yeah.
There's some things that worked last year. There's some things that didn't work, and there's some things that we want to try again. So.
Yeah.
When we moved here a few years ago, we said we wanted a greenhouse, so we only got a smallish space because we weren't digging the lawn up. Don't even keep suggesting that one, because somebody will get annoyed with you. And we've got various bits of the garden we want to sort of utilise alongside the greenhouse, but we tried things last year. There's a few things that didn't work. Melanie didn't like it here. She absolutely hated it. So we got no melons whatsoever. We had tons of tomatoes, to the point where I did soup with them and bolognese, and we had loads of cucumbers. But there's other things I want to kind of try and work out what didn't work, why it didn't work, and what I need to do to improve. Really.
So it's only a 6x4 greenhouse that we did. Mm-hmm. It's not very often that you could say that you've actually created an erection for your producer, but we can say that.
Yeah, but it was only a little one.
Right. Well, anyway, anything's better than nothing, some would say, Julia, and that definitely is, because he has had maximum production in there.
Yeah. It was like a salad.
It was
production.
actually, wasn't it?
Yeah.
In fairness, she did really well, even though some things are basic that you went wrong with, but we'll put you right this year.
And courgettes, for some reason, didn't work. In the past, in our old house, courgettes worked really well in pots in the garden because, again, we didn't have a garden. We had the lawn and the slabbed area, so most things were in pots. Last year, for some reason, the courgettes didn't work at all. They produced the fruit, but then it rotted before it got to the point of being ready for use. So I don't know what went wrong there, whether it's where they were or what, but I don't think courgettes are something I want to look into again this year, particularly because I think it felt like a waste of time because we got nothing from it.
Yeah, but the good thing is, Gareth, and no joke on this one, is that at least you're having a go. And when we talk about stuff, majority of time we're growing it at home, but we're growing it up the allotment. So we've got plenty of time to do it. You are a typical person probably that we're talking to in that you've got a very busy life, you've got a very busy wife, and on top of that, you've got a very busy garden and you're trying to grow your own. It is full on doing it. So I like the reality aspect that not everything is going to work. Yes, we call it an experiment because it hasn't worked, but it doesn't matter, does it? So let's do something different this year with it.
I'm just thinking about the courgettes though. It was quite a dreadful year last year, wasn't it? The weather, we had a lot of rain and we had a lot of windy weather. Yeah. Neither of which courgettes do like. So, it might be worth giving it a go again, but we can't predict the seasons. So.
We can't, but it's always that same phrase, isn't it, for people up the allotments? And I was on about it yesterday to somebody that we've spoken to in the past that we'll be speaking to again in the future. And I said, it doesn't matter what age you are, that's got nothing to do with it. Every year we say the same. Next year, what I'm going to do is, and every year we do that. So I think we should give it a second year and have another go, but in a different way at growing courgettes and see what happens.
Okay, let's go and have a look outside and we can sort of assess what happened, where we went wrong and what we might want to do with some of the bits.
Can I just take out that word actually? Wrong and also we. Where you went wrong.
Okay, where I went wrong.
Okay then, right.
And so where I went as an experiment and it didn't quite go according to plan, and where we might like to utilise some of the bits and pieces that we've got in the garden as well.
Yeah.
So let's go and have a look. So we've come outside and the first thing we come to is the greenhouse, which we put up, 2 years ago? So it's a 6x4. And what's the first thing that you kind of notice with the greenhouse, Julia?
It's got a lot of boxes in it.
Yeah, so need to explain this. Behind us is the little black cat that thinks she lives here. And my wife is soft, so she's put a load of boxes in for when we're not in or when the cat thinks she wants to come here because she visits us and other people. So consequently, they need evicting. What we did last year was it was full of tomatoes, cucumbers and melon. So we put up the netting for the cucumbers and the melon to grow up. And what do I need to do, other than evict the cat, what do we need to do to get it ready for the next season?
Clean it. Clean it, guys.
Clean it. Wash it. So washing up liquid and a sponge.
Yes, washing up liquid, sponge, and then just give it a rinse down. That's fine.
And it doesn't look in bad order, actually. When you look over there, Julia, there's only one pane of glass that's going a little bit green. Everything else is quite sparkling. Yeah. The other thing is that what I have noticed, Julia, to your left, is a big pot and it's got chard in it.
It's growing. Yeah.
This is the chard that you gave us the back end of the summer, I think, and we've probably had about one harvest off it, and then the weather went bad, so we didn't really sort of touch it because we couldn't get across this side of the garden. So it's now starting to regrow again, isn't it?
Yes, and it's completely edible, Gareth, because chard is actually perennial, so it will keep on growing and keep producing those leaves. So there's your dinner.
I tell you what, they're salad leaves at its best. If you have a look at them, I mean, they look lovely. Oh, Julia's got her hand in. That was that. But there's some lovely ones. Look at that. There you go, Gareth. You can chomp on that instead of beetroot. It looks like beetroot, but it's not beetroot.
The other thing that we've got in the garden, because we don't have much in the way of garden space, but we bought several years ago these troughs that we've got by the kitchen window, which we've tried to grow various things in. We had one year where there was a bit of success. You don't look very well after that chard, Mrs. Crick.
No, it's all right now, yeah.
So we had 1 year of success, but then following years with this one, there's two that are this size and there's one that's bigger that's around the other side. Right. we don't appear to have had a huge amount of success with them. We kind of get stuff that occasionally grows, but it gets infested with snails, slugs, and then things just aren't successful. So where am I going wrong, and what should I be planting in these in reality?
Have they got drainage holes in the bottom? That's the most important thing.
Put your hand underneath, Gareth.
Yeah, there's holes. It goes down the leg. So it goes down the legs.
Oh,
Okay, that's
right, okay. Well, what I would do, Julia might be different, but what I'm going to do is I would empty them and start all over again. Another song, but I would do that.
Yeah.
And then let's fill them up with compost, but let's get some sand in as well.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking it's very compacted.
there's no structure, is there?
No. So, and I would pull them away from the wall so that the slugs can't get up the wall to them. And then we could perhaps put some of your Vaseline that you've had a massive tub of, and we could put that round the edge to stop the slugs getting in.
Yeah. But it will be interesting to see whether or not the slugs are already in the soil, which is why I'm saying
be in
get
the
rid
compost,
of it.
yeah.
Because what we could do is use that soil in the greenhouse or even on some of the raised beds that you've got over there, Gareth. So it's not going to go to waste. It's not going in the brown bin. You will put it to good use.
Gareth, did these come with lids on them? Did they come with clear lids? No.
No, there's no lid. So what they've got is there's a separator in the middle, which I assume is so that you know which side you've planted stuff on. But it's what sort of things we can grow in these. I'd got this vision when we moved here of almost like a little bit of in inverted commas market garden. So behind you can see I've got some herbs that I'd bought from the supermarket and then replanted on. So
they look good actually.
So the rose
chives over there, look.
So we've got rosemary, chives, there's thyme.
And that's hard to grow, so you've done well there.
And this is 2 years worth, but it's the kind of things what sort of things grow better in these conditions here, and what am I going to have success with? Because we discussed what went wrong last year that didn't work. So the courgettes didn't work. Whatever I put in here, I think I put some spinach and some radish in here, and the radish just didn't take at all in here.
Let's try some radish tapes with you. Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll come back as soon as the soil starts to warm, literally on the garden. But then let's bring some compost, let's bring some sand, and we'll bring some tapes. So they're seeds that are impregnated into the tapes, so they're spaced beautifully, and let's see how successful you can be with maybe carrots as well. You like carrots, don't you? Oh, we've got a yes from Gareth. Right, so let's do that on one side and radishes on the other.
Yeah, and the other thing is that I can't really understand why spinach wouldn't grow in these, because I think they would like these conditions. So was it because the spinach was being eaten?
Possible that there was already slugs or something already in there. I think the problem is we've discussed the drainage. I think they got up the legs of the troughs, and that's where the drainage is, and they've got into that point. So as I say, the first year we used them, I think we had lettuce in the first year and they were reasonably successful. Last year these were a complete failure. Some of the stuff outside the greenhouse was a failure. The stuff inside the greenhouse, apart from the melon, was great. So it's about working out where we probably need to adapt and change what we've done, but also what grows better here, because this garden gets really quite a lot of sunlight at the beginning of the day, and then later in the day it moves around, so it kind of does start to move into the shadow. So it's about the conditions we've got and the facilities we've got where the cat doesn't come and dig stuff up, which is what she's starting to do. Which is, I'm going to evict the cat.
You know how to stop the cats digging up, don't you?
Evict them?
Well, you can either get some lion poo, if you want to
raw.
Yeah, you could get some raw, or you could actually put some citrus peel around where the places you don't want her to dig up, and that should stop her digging up, because they don't like oranges and lemons, cats don't.
Is there enough citrus in the world to put it around the entire garden?
Well, if you eat a lot of oranges and lemons, yes. I do want you to try again in these, and we are going to empty them.
Yeah.
And maybe we could put some other drainage holes in, and if it's coming up the legs, we could just fill the legs. Unless the slugs were already in there and the snails, they're getting in somewhere, and 70% of slugs are in the soil itself, so we're perhaps dealing with something that we can't see. So start all over again, and I think we should have more success this year.
If you'd like Elaine and Julia to come to a talk for your group, get in touch. naughtycorner@pottyplotters.uk.
Right then, Julia, so we're back inside and you think that we're going to talk about leeks, and so does Gareth. But I'm now in charge. I've decided that today I am going to be in charge.
You're changing the schedule?
Yeah, I have, yeah. And what I've got is...
What have you got now?
I know. Well, I thought I'm going to do an element of surprise.
Oh, I don't like
So
this,
I've actually brought my bag with me. Oh, and there's a lot of recycling in it as well.
Oh.
But I thought I'd bring you a nice surprise before we get on to the proper stuff of the podcast. So... I've just
been on that internet again. Look, I can see Gareth. Oh, what's she got?
I have. Now, happy days for all of us. Well done, us. And I've been in touch with this company,
Yes.
and they don't know that I've bought from them.
Yeah.
It's called a teeny greenie, and what it is microgreens.
She's a florist, isn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's our florist.
Yeah.
But what I decided was that we are going to start a competition. It fits nicely with what we were just saying outside in Gareth. So, Gareth, please help yourself to a teeny greenie tin.
I think I'm going to go for the rocket.
Okay, you can have the rocket. Julia, you'll have one of the others that are left. Oh, she's reading it all now.
I'm just thinking which I'd use more.
Oh, yeah.
I've had that one, sorry.
I'll have the red Mizuna.
Okay, which is a lovely red lettuce, if you remember.
Yes.
We've done those before.
Yeah.
And I've got purple radish. It's not an illness, it's something. If you open up your tin... Right, let's have a little peep inside. Because this is the kind of thing that people do. Yeah, it's quite hard, isn't it? That's the first task. Right. Have you managed, Chuck?
Ooh.
Producer Gareth.
I'm in.
Oh, yeah, it's in. Right. So inside we find that there's a little piece of paper and it tells us growing instructions. Oh, in nice big letters so that we can read it, and it looks quite simple. But I thought what we should do is each of us take these home. You live here, Gareth, so it's okay. And then what we should do is... Today, Julia, I want you to have a go at doing this. So you've got to set yours.
Yes.
You've got to set yours, Gareth, and I've got to set mine. And just see, next time we meet, how we've gone on with a teeny greenie.
Okay, and we'll describe the process next week, will we?
Yeah, because it shouldn't be too difficult the way that I understood it from the internet. Why are we doing it? We're doing it because people often mention to us, do they not, Julia, up the allotment, I've seen this on the internet, I've read that on the internet, I've bought this off the internet. Obviously, the internet is taking over our lives. So I thought, right, well, I'm going to go on that blooming internet. Yeah. I've been on the internet and I bought these off the internet. And I thought, right, let's have a look at how good they are, because they actually grow in 3.2 seconds on the internet. Or unless Gareth can work a miracle, ours might take a little bit longer. But they're microgreens, so it means that we should be able to be eating them very soon.
So last year we did the leeks, we did the elephant in the milk bottle.
We did, yeah, and I've actually brought the milk bottle with me. I tell you what, it's a good job I've got lots of bags. Oh, that reminds me of something else that I thought we'd have a little go at as well in a minute. But
so
I brought a milk bottle, Julia. Mine's only a pint milk bottle, but a plastic milk carton. Because I have milk bottles, yes.
Yeah, so all we do with the milk carton is we chop it in half, so just below where the handle is.
Okay.
And we're just going to make ourselves a little mini greenhouse out of it.
Right.
Most important, we put holes in the bottom because, of course, we need drainage.
Okay.
So we'll pop a few holes in the bottom, cut it in half, and then all I'm going to do is, my goodness, she's like Mary Poppins with this bag.
I've got everything.
It's like she's bought props, all the props we could ever need here, isn't it?
Composting though, thank you very much. Right.
Some seeds. I thought you might need some seeds.
Yes, some seeds. That's lovely. And all we're going to do, we're going to fill the bottom of the milk bottle carton with compost, multi-purpose compost, and then we are going to sprinkle the seeds over the top. And I've got some leek seeds here. I'm not doing elephant this year.
Okay.
I'm doing one called Poor Bella.
Okay.
And the reason I'm doing that is because I did have some leek rust last year on the leeks. So this is a variety that is less prone to rust. And
what was it called again?
It's Poor Bella.
Porbella.
Okay. Poor Bella. And also they will hold up quite well in the frost. So if we have a frosty period, they'll last over winter. So that's what I'm going to grow this time, and I'm going to do it in the milk bottle method. So I'm sure we can put some photographs out of that on the social media things. When we say we include Gareth in this part, don't we?
Change we for me.
And we'll share them as to how we do them, but I would look at about 10 to 14 days before we see them emerging, and then we need to allow them to grow on. So that's all I'm going to do with
Right, I'm just going to go back over that then. So I've got this milk bottle.
Yes.
So we just cut it in half.
Yeah.
That's underneath where the handly bit is.
Right, yeah.
You've made holes in the bottom as well. I'm touching it like anybody can see it and they can't.
No.
Then you fill it up to the top with multi-purpose compost.
That's right.
Sprinkle the seeds thinly.
Very thinly.
Yeah, thinly on the top. Do you put any compost on the top of that, or do you leave it open?
No, I do put a little bit of compost, but it's a very fine, thin layer of compost over the top. You don't need much at all.
Okay, and then do you spray it to wet it, or do you stand it in water so that it's all wet all the way through?
Good question. So we could have stood it in water to allow the water to soak up through the bottom, through the holes to wet the compost, or I could have given it a little spray before I laid the seeds. So
that's fine.
Yeah.
And then, Julia, you squish the top back on the bottom.
Yes.
So in effect, it looks like a milk carton again.
Yeah.
And then what do you do with it?
And then I just put it somewhere. It could even go in the unheated greenhouse now. And be fine. They'll just come out a bit later, but I could take them home, put them somewhere a bit warmer, and they'll germinate a bit quicker. But I wouldn't be too worried about leaving them in the plot now in the unheated greenhouse.
And we're not in a rush for them, are we?
No,
okay.
They're a slow growing plants, so yeah.
Okay, and the other thing is, what about your label? Because in a minute you'll forget what it is that we've done. You'll have forgotten what we've done on here, never mind what's in this. So what are you going to do, Chalk?
Well, I could put the label in, and it's always worth remembering to put the date on it, because then it helps you remember when you've planted it, so that if seeds don't come through, then you know realistically if we've gone a month, then I'd be very alarmed with a leek seed that they've not germinated, and I'd set myself some more. Or with it being a plastic milk bottle, we could just write on the side of the bottle.
And the good thing would be to write on the bottom part where the seeds are rather than the top, because in a little while you'll be taking your top off.
The Plotcast Podcast with the Potty Plotters.
Broad beans.
Yeah.
Julia. Now then, if I remember correctly, Gareth don't like these.
That's correct.
Blimey. Right, okay then. Gareth.
Am I doing broad beans even though I don't like them?
Alison, do you like broad beans? No, she's shaking her head as well. We better grow them for ourselves.
Can you grow cake? You ever tried?
I'd be a millionaire if I could, wouldn't I?
Yeah.
No. Come on, let's grow them for us
Okay then. Well, we'll do them. Yeah. Well, if I think of something nice to make with them. Anyway.
Hummus is nice.
I love it. Yeah. Oh, he's got that face. No. Okay then, right. So what I've got is I've made a hole, Julia. I've made a hole. This is ridiculous. So I've got two different types, and I've got Masterpiece Green Long Pod.
Oh, that's the tall one.
It is, and the reason that I get them is because they are so tall, which is what I like, because it saves me bending down when I'm picking them. The other one is Broadbean. This one is Dreadnought.
Oh, right.
I did these last year. Not too bad, but not the best I've ever had.
No.
So I've got them, but I probably will only do one row of them. Now then, talking of rows, first of all, what I am going to do is I am going to plant all of these. Now I've got my glasses on because I can't see how many there are in this. Now then, let me have a little peep. This is the kind of person I am when you get to a garden centre.
It's about 40 in there, aren't there?
I don't know, really. It doesn't say Gareth, does it?
No.
Gareth's reading as well, and he's trying, but no, that's not very good, is it? Don't know how many's in here. But anyway, what we do is we get a... now, this is the reason we do it. Let's go backwards. Because we get so many mice and rats up the allotment, and by crikey, we've had some, haven't we? We're still underwater up the plot, though, aren't we?
Yeah, that's why it's quite good to come out, isn't
it? And keep dry for a minute. But what we do is we get cell trays. So they're just little trays that have got holes in them for us to plant our seeds. And broad beans are the biggest bean that we we plant.
Yeah.
And what we do is we put multi-purpose compost in each of the cells, and then what we do is we put them, Gareth,
On the side.
on the side. Why do we do that, Gareth?
So that it doesn't rot.
Yes!
It's listening,
Oh, it's
hasn't it?
amazing. If we had a round of applause, we could put one in now.
Well done, Gareth.
Okay, so what we do is we pop this in the cell tray and then we cover it up, but make sure, as Gareth said, stick it on its side. It is
They
the
like to
yolk.
sleep on the side.
Yeah, they
not
do.
on the back.
No.
Because they snore if they're on the back.
Right then. Oh, you see, it just brings out the naughtiness, doesn't
Yeah.
it, of us all? Anyway, so yeah, stick it on its side, and that's really important. And then cover it up and then leave it. Well, we put ours in the roof of the polytunnel.
I am going to tell you something because you've not been to the plot today.
Not today, no.
And I've been there today.
Oh, no.
And normally I can't see them in the roof.
No.
But Steve came in. Steve, who's a couple of plots
Oh, yeah.
away from you.
Yeah.
And he was like, who's planted them up there? And I said, oh, they're Elaine's, but I can't see them because she's put them in the roof. And he got one down. Breaking news, your broad beans are popping through already.
Oh, that's brilliant news.
Yeah.
So, what we do is succession planting, don't we? And
Yeah.
we always make sure that we've got plenty of broad beans. And with them popping through, it will be a matter of weeks before they go in the garden. They will not go into the raised bed until the soil has started to warm up, though. And at least that the plants are about 3 inches tall. So, they will be staying in the roof. I'll tell you what, I'll write a little note because when I get back, I'll tell Steve off for getting in my roof.
You've been warming up your beds and compost, have you?
I have, and the reason I'm doing it because it won't be too long now before we're planting out. So cover up your raised beds, cover up any area that you want to be planting, in particular your potatoes, because they're generally the first thing that we'll be putting in for real in the season. And so all that I'll do is put some fleece or black plastic across the area that I'm going to plant them, and that's exactly the same with the bags of compost.
Yeah.
We've moved some into the tangerinery, haven't we?
We have. We've got them in the tangerinery. They are warming up lovely, and I've moved some into the greenhouse because I've started planting some other seeds. So yeah, it's always better to start the seeds off in something that's warm. Imagine if you were put onto a bed of compost that was cold and horrible and wet that you'd got from outside. I wouldn't like it, you wouldn't like it, and the seeds won't like it. So bring the compost in and warm it up.
And for those of you who can't remember, a tangerinery is exactly the same as a orangery, but much, much smaller.
If you'd like to support the podcast, you can leave us a tip at ko-fi.com/thepottyplotters. That's ko-fi.com/thepottyplotters. And we'll love you forever.
I've got lots of different packets, as you have, because I want to talk about seed packets and the information that is on them.
Yeah.
Now then, repeatedly, and you do see it on the internet, people are already setting seeds, and they set seeds at the wrong time. But if you look at all of this information, and we have got lots of different packets of seeds in front of us, Julia, it's not a wonder that people go wrong, is it?
Yeah. So you've got to look at your packets, and some of them will show planting times for outside as well as inside, and the ideal times to plant out. Of course, these are just guidance. They're not they're not set in stone, Elaine.
No.
And you've really got to understand your local conditions as well. But one thing that we found particularly, and anybody who watches all that social media thing, it's the start of the season now.
Okay.
And people have already come to me this very day, Elaine, and said, I'm planting my tomatoes because they've seen it on the seed packet.
But it's only the beginning of March.
It's only the beginning of March. And where we are, that's too early.
Cold.
And the problem is, if you do it too early, of course, you're going to nurse your plants. And if it survives, it's going to be a little bit compromised because we've had to nurture it.
And I remember, I've got my finger out now, I've just woken up.
Yeah.
But I remember last year, Callum, and he said it on the previous podcast series that we did. And he said that he remembers not long after I'd first met him that I'd gone along and I was a bit like Keith off Pottery Throwdown when I said, oh, what's that? And I picked up his brassicas and I dumped him.
You did?
I chucked him in a bucket.
In fact, he's been talking to me about that today. He's still traumatised a year later.
Oh, that's
Elaine.
really bad. That makes me feel bad. But I was right. Yeah. I mean, if you're growing things at the wrong time, what are you going to do with them? Because you can't nurture them on a windowsill. And his brassica seeds, I can't remember if they were something like broccoli or cabbage. They were about 6 inches, 4 to 6 inches. And all it was one very weak, long stem with a head on the top. Yeah. And it was a waste of time. So I made him get rid of them. And I do think I did it and said, right, here's your packet, start again.
So for the listeners, when we're looking at things like sow-in dates, so sow indoors or sow outdoors, when we're looking at it, we are in the middle of the country. Yeah. So we should realistically fall somewhere in the middle of those planting dates. If you're listening to this and you're at the south of the country, that is obviously going to be a warmer area. And so that is they are the places that can have a go at planting towards those earlier dates. The further north you go, obviously, you're looking at a later date than that. So that's something for listeners to really think about when you're looking at the planting date. March is not suitable for everywhere in the country.
So, but if you have a look at these, I've got colour codings, and a lot of them are for about 5 months that you can sell, set stuff like carrots, for instance. I've got the carrots here. So you can grow outdoors, but also indoors. And then what it does is tell you when to sow and then when to harvest. And it's a massive time, isn't it? So there's not a rush.
No, there's not a rush. And with something like carrots, of course, you're going to be wanting to sow multiple times because if you sow all your carrots on one date, what's going to happen? They're all going to be ready on the same date, aren't they? Whereas if you leave yourself a gap of, say, a month, which it still fits within that planting zone, really, then, of course, you can keep planting more and more.
Okay, so the thing to do is to realistically, most of these anyway, the realistic thing to do is to wait until the soil starts to warm up. There are very few things that will need to get started before that time, and that's why we take a time now with broad beans and leeks and so on, because they have got a long growing period.
And I think, it is probably one of the key things that I picked up when we first started doing the Growing Academy was one of our starters, Angie, who we taught in there. And she said what she learnt most was to understand the local conditions and the seasons, because whilst it may say it's safe to plant out in, say, June, we have experienced a late frost in June. So if it looks like it's going to be cold then, just because the packet says plant it out, don't plant it out.
Okay, so there's a lot of information for everybody to take in there, but the main thing is just be guided by the weather and also the warmth.
Yeah, I don't know whether we're going to go over, but I'm also going to mention something else that is written about on the seed packets, and that's planting distances. And that is really important to follow, I think, because, it gives you spacings for certain plants. Well, like anything, if you've not got room to grow, if you're not positioned in the right position and you've got no room to grow, you're not going to develop to your full potential.
So that was the problem with what we were talking about earlier with Gareth outside. Not him, but also the tomatoes and everything, that we didn't leave enough space.
Exactly.
When I say we, I meant he.
Obviously your family left you plenty of room and you shot up.
Yeah, but I'm not in a size 10 anymore because they knew that I'd got to expand. There you go, folk. Just bear that one in mind.
Well, think about that when you're planting, but follow the planting spaces and you can't go far wrong then.
Top-notch advice, no Latin included. The Potty Plotters Plotcast.
Just when you think that we've had enough and that we want to start talking about what we're doing next week, I'm just going to go back into my bag.
Oh, goodness.
I quite like this feature. It's quite a surprise for you, isn't it?
Oh, he's not going to drink one of them.
Don't tell him what it is.
It's comfrey tea, isn't it?
No. It looks like comfrey tea, but it's called Beat It. It's beetroot and apple
Oh,
juice.
lovely. My favourite.
Now then,
Thanks, Gareth. I've got two.
There you go.
Yeah.
I thought that we should start doing these taste tests. Now, we are going to make Gareth start and do some of these
There's certain no-nos.
I just, as soon as I saw you pull that out, I thought, that looks beetrooty. Gareth won't even go near that. So,
No,
yeah.
but I thought that we could test it on air because it's all about that. You know, this next year, Julia, what we're not going to do is just have everything as everybody else does. Let's get a little bit wild with our experiments. We do gin, we do cake, most of the time. And then we also do crumbles, we do things for the freezer, chutneys. Let's do things that are a little bit different. I know you're quite shocked, but why don't you open one and then, this is a bottle that's around 6 inches, I would say, in height. And it's called Beat It. It's an organic beetroot and apple drink.
Ooh, lovely.
So I thought that we could perhaps, I mean, I did want to make Gareth taste it, but the chances of that are it's a bit like us understanding IT. Yeah. It's not going to happen. No. So you open it, Em.
Oh,
don't get it everywhere.
No,
not in Gareth's house. Now, what does it... Oh, you want me to smell? Give it me. Let me smell. Let me smell. Now then,
does
Julia.
It smell earthy?
It smells of beetroot. Smell that.
Oh, God. Horrible.
Come on then, let's taste it.
Come on then. Cheers.
It's been nice knowing you.
Yeah.
It's horrible, isn't it?
It's not horrible.
But...
Not nice either.
It's...
Medicine.
It's much better sitting from this side of it, isn't it, Gareth?
I like beetroot.
Yeah, I do. I love it.
I don't know if I want to drink it, and it's kind of...
Oh. She's having another go, though, folk.
I think it's a no, isn't it?
I think it's a no from that
It's
side of the
not
table.
right.
It's not right. Oh,
I think that's copywritten. We may have to pay somebody for that.
But I don't know what's wrong with it, but...
Is it because you're drinking it, not eating it?
I think it smells.
It smells of beetroot.
I mean, I love beetroot. I do love beetroot, but yeah, maybe it's because I'm drinking it and not eating it. I'm not getting a texture to it, but it's... Right. You've got to try some now, Elaine.
No, because you seem to be going for it now. It's very good for you, Gareth.
Yeah.
It's not.
No.
It's not if you don't like beetroot.
No. Okay, then. Right, well, on that happy note, we'll leave Julia because obviously she's drinking beetroot and who knows what's going to happen next week. But that's all the surprise.
Oh,
so,
no, bigger
and done
surprise.
with. Oh, really?
Well, bigger surprise. I've not got a bag coming up.
Oh.
But I've just looked at what you've got scheduled for next week.
Yeah.
And next week coming up, we have got the king of the allotments, in our world anyway, the king of allotment growing. It's Mr. Rob Smith. Yes.
And that's going to be quite exciting, isn't it?
Yeah. And also, we love Rob because not only was he an allotmenter, but he's now growing in his own garden. He's a northern chap, so he understands the challenges we face up in the north. And he's very knowledgeable.
He is, and he's written a new book, so he's going to be telling us all about that, whether he likes it or not. And I want to talk about nematodes.
Do you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's that time of year, Julia.
Oh, yeah, we need to. Ordering,
yes, we do. Yeah. It's that time, hate slugs. But anyway, the other thing is sand.
Oh,
yeah.
We're going to the seaside?
Nope, we're going to be ordering sand for the beds.
The Plotcast Podcast with the Potty Plotters is an Amberland Media production.